this a great game or what with the Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian? I'm his son Jeff Kurkjian, and we are just one day away from Independence Day. So happy July 4th, Dad.
Yes, and what do you got planned for July the 4th, Jeff?
So we have our, the world's cutest small town 4th of July parade in Skippack, Pennsylvania. And, they bring all of the fire trucks through, all of the floats. It's really adorable. So what we do, Dad, is we wake up early. We bring chairs down to the pike, right, the Skippack Pike, and we set them out early. Go back to your house. We can walk there, and then we're going to have some friends over with their kids, all walk down together and do a little pool party after the parade. It's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it.
Right. Have a White Claw, Jeff. That'll be great. I will be flying to San Diego on July the 4th. I will be doing the Rangers at the Padres on Sunday Night Baseball. It's the second of two games that night on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. So I'm very excited about that. So let's go July the 4th. Can't wait.
Yeah, you're going to be on a plane on the 4th of July. Do you think are you going to be at night or is it a day flight?
It's a morning flight, so I will be there plenty of time for the game and for the fireworks at Petco Park on Friday night, July the 4th.
I remember the first time we went to Petco Park, Dad. Do you remember this first trip ever?
I do. That was your only trip there. First, we went to Legoland.
That's
remember?
Right.
That was part of the trip. And yes, we went to SeaWorld, I believe, Clyde and Seymour. And then we went to Petco Park. Yeah.
Yeah. Does Russell Wilson look like a trainer at SeaWorld? Right? I mean, when we did our Dan Levitard episode, that one came out from Jeremy Taché, sent me a list that was on it. Right. I remember going to SeaWorld. Dad, is there a place you and I feel more out of place than SeaWorld?
Yeah, Jeff, neither one of us is very good in the water. You're worse than I am, and neither one of us are that good on land either, if you're really thinking about it. So,
Dad, did you hear the story of the passenger who fell off of the Disney Dream cruise ship? A 5-year-old, supposedly, reportedly, fell off a cruise ship, and Dad jumped in, saved the child, and treaded water for 20 minutes until the rescue boats got there.
How long was the fall?
About 4 decks is what they say, into the water. The dad jumped in right after the child fell in. He jumped in. How...
He saved his 5-year-old son.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Son or daughter, I'm not sure, but yes. And it just speaks volumes, Dad. And I know we joke about me being a terrible swimmer, but I would jump in so fast, so quickly after my daughter. My world completely changed when I became a dad almost 2 years ago. I remember you saying, you don't even know love until you have a child. And that's no disrespect to people without kids, meaning it's just a different channel of love that you have for your children than that you have of your own parents or of your spouse or of your dog, right? It's just a different channel of your heart. And yeah, I'm a terrible swimmer and I jump in immediately. And I like to think there would be some sort of God intervention to make me a good swimmer again in order to save McKinley's life.
Yeah, you would. There's no telling what comes from within inside you. You don't even know you have it. You don't even remember this, Jeff, but when you were a really small child, you got trapped underneath a car, and I picked up the car and saved your life. Did you know that?
Was it a Matchbox car?
That's enough of that. Speaking, Jeff, of obituaries, or which were not, of course. I wrote Johnny Bench's obituary this morning. And he's not sick. He's okay. That's the point. Johnny Bench is our favorite player. He was our favorite guest on the podcast last year. But in order to get things in the bank at ESPN, you have to do these things just in case. So Johnny Bench is fine. Nothing's going to happen to Johnny Bench for another 20 years, our hope is. But I just want you to know this is what I do on a daily basis. I have to do things like this. Not easy to do, by the way.
That is, I remember years and years and years ago, you had to write an obituary for your dear friend and one of your mentors, Peter Gammons, when he was a little touch and go there medically, Dad. That was maybe, 15 years ago?
Brain aneurysm, and they called me and said at midnight, and said, you better write this. He might not make it through the night. And with tears in my eyes, I wrote an obit on Peter Gammons, and I told him about it. And then he said, show it to me, send it to me. I can't wait to read it, which thank God we haven't needed any part of it. So
the old saying is that you'd always want to attend your own funeral to see what people have to say about you. Are you going to send Johnny Bench the obit that you wrote?
Of course not.
Dad, he's a guest. He's a friend of the show. He's a guest on the show. I want to bring him back just so you could read his obit to him on the podcast. We have to do it.
All right. We'll get him on the show again, I hope. We already used up one time. We don't get too many shots at Johnny Bench, the greatest catcher ever.
Oh, you scared me so much when you said that.
Sorry.
But you said it so nonchalantly. I was like, there's no way he's going about, Johnny Bench isn't going to make it through the... Oh, my goodness gracious. Okay. Wow.
Right. Let's thank Ron Darling for yesterday. That was just absolutely a great interview talking about the 40-year anniversary of maybe the craziest game ever played. The 16-13 victory by the Mets over the Braves 40 years ago in the Rick Camp game. Tremendous.
Yeah, on 4th of July, and it was so interesting to hear from him coming in at 3 o'clock in the morning to pitch. If you didn't listen to the last episode, maybe save it for tomorrow on the 4th of July, and you can kind of be reliving that game 40 years later on the day it actually happened. Very, very neat. So thank you to Ron Darling. And Dad, thank you that you're not wearing your Hawaiian shirt for this episode, back-to-back episodes.
Right.
I'm just glad.
That was pretty bad. By the way, Jeff, do you remember the movie I made when we went to, Mom and I went to Maui? Do you remember that?
Maui the movie, yeah.
Right. Was that the single stupidest thing you've ever seen?
Dad,
we had a little video camera, and we just chronicled the entire trip to Maui. And my my favorite moment was, because we were trying to do all sorts of things, we found an outdoor basketball court with a rim that was 7 feet high. 7. Okay. And back then I was younger and I could jump, and I bought a basketball while we were in Maui. And as part of the stupidest Maui the movie ever, I dunked a basketball a bunch of times on camera, and I showed the movie to friends and family. And one of my uncles said, Tim, was that a 10-foot hoop you were dunking? He was serious. I said, no, it was a 7-foot high hoop.
Still pretty good for a guy your height to jam on 7 feet.
Jeff, you could dunk on 7 feet.
I could dunk on 8 feet.
Yeah, and you could beat Kyle Schwarber in a race. I don't think so.
You don't think I could dunk on an 8-foot rim?
I think you could dunk on an 8-foot rim. Yes.
We're gonna have to do a video of that now. Is your rim still adjustable in your front?
It is.
Okay.
We have a gorilla in the front yard.
Not your first one either. You recently upgraded, and I don't know if anybody besides you is...
This is where I'm such a snob, Jeff, when it comes to outdoor basketball hoops. And I've told you this. If you're going to put a hoop in the yard, it has to be an in-ground hoop. It can't be on wheels. And I don't want to offend anyone who has a hoop on wheels. But if you want to be really good at shooting a basketball, you need to shoot it at a rim that is in the ground, and it's not going to shake or move every time you hit the rim.
Ain't that the truth, Dad? Let's go into the takeaways.
Okay,
what do you got, Dad?
Well, I visited you on Monday, and that night I went to see the Phillies game.
That's
Zach
right.
Wheeler pitched. He pitched another great game, and it just shows you how great the pitching is in the big leagues. We talk about this all the time, but I saw Mike Schilt, the Padres manager, because they didn't score any runs off of Zach Wheeler in reliever. And he just said, like, after the first inning, he just looked and said, oh, my goodness, like, what are we up against here? And he essentially said what I say every night. When these really good pitchers have their best stuff and they can command it, the hitter has virtually no chance. I mean, we talked last week the other day about, last week we had 24 games in a 2-game span. 12 of them were shutouts. Never happened in the history of baseball.
Unbelievable.
And, Tuesday night, last night before we taped, 3 more shutouts. It happens all the time. And Jeff, just look at the strikeout rates that we're talking about. Rafael Devers, pretty darn good hitter, just finished 12 strikeouts in 4 games. No San Francisco Giant has ever done that many strikeouts in 4 games. This is the same Devers, great hitter, who started the season 0-19 with 15 strikeouts. Aaron Judge at this taping has 97 strikeouts this season, and he is the best hitter in the game. Shohei Ohtani, who might be the second best hitter in the game, struck out for the 100th time on Tuesday night. These guys are great, but when you're facing pitching like this, you have very little chance. And now Jacob deGrom, of course, is back. He's not the Jacob deGrom of old, but he's still pretty darn good. 14 straight starts now, at least 5 innings pitched and no more than 2 earned runs. And here's what's happening now, Jeff. Like, Ohtani came into the league with a big old leg kick, and that's where the power, that was his starter, that was his trigger, that's how he got things going. But so many hitters now, including Ohtani, have abandoned the leg kick because you're not going to catch up to 100 miles an hour until you just go to a toe tap or have no stride at all. So many hitters today have had to adjust the way they swing the bat because the pitching that they see is so amazingly good.
It's quick, it's fast, it's scary, it's impossible to keep up with. Anybody who thinks they can even make contact against a major leaguer right now is absolutely crazy.
We've been over this stupid Kurkjian quandary a million times, but average fan against any pitcher in the big leagues today, 100 swings, no contact, no hits, no balls in play, 0 chance. And Jeff, the last takeaway is that as through Tuesday, the 2 longest winning streaks in the major leagues belong to the Miami Marlins at 8 games and 5 games by the Pittsburgh Pirates. And this is why baseball is the greatest game, Jeff. 2 weeks ago, they were 2 of the 5 worst teams in baseball. Now they have the 2 longest winning streaks in the game. This is why the game is so beautiful, is just the ebbs and flow just don't make any sense. And I'm not suggesting this is going to continue for the Marlins or the Pirates, but the fact that they have played this well for this period of time is really good. Paul Skeens, by the way, who you mentioned the other day, the poor guy never gets any run support.
No.
He's the first pitcher ever to have an ERA this low, that's 1.44, during a 10-start stretch. And during that stretch, he had 0 or 1 victories. That is the lowest ERA since 1913 when earned runs became official. So that's the lowest ERA by any pitcher in a 10-game stretch. And during that stretch, the pitcher only had 1 or 0 victories. That's how little support Paul Skeens has got.
That's very sad. All right, Dad, what about the Kurkjians? What do you have for us?
All right, so Jeff, Tuesday night, I'm watching as many games as I can up in my office, and Andy Van Slyke called me to tell me in the Cubs game he saw something that he's never seen before. 3 Cubs got thrown out on the bases in 1 inning. So the 3 outs were made, and the batter didn't make the out in any of them. So he said, I've never seen that. And then you got a bunch of texts, and I got a bunch of texts and tweets and everything like, when's the last time this happened? So I, of course, texted Frank from the Elias late last night because I know I've seen this before. I just can't remember when I saw it. So the last time this happened was in 1991. The Angels were facing Mike Fetters in the 6th inning, and they had 2 caught stealings and a guy out trying to stretch in 1 inning. So that was the last time, 1991,
wow,
that 3 guys reached base, 3 batters reached base, and were all thrown out in the same inning.
That's crazy. Yeah, a bunch of members, and I would list them all, but there were so many that messaged us. So thank you for being on top of that, saying, when was the last time this happened? We got it.
Right, we got it for you. All right, Wilyer Abreu of the Red Sox hit an inside-the-park homer and a grand slam in the same game. First player to do that since Roger Maris, who seems to be in every podcast these days, did it in 1958. So I looked up, Jeff, the the most home runs by anyone without an inside the park homer. This is not a surprise, but Albert Pujols hit 703 homers without an inside the park homer. And I think that's the most, but I know that he never hit one, and he hit 703. And Glenn Davis hit 192 homers in his career, which is the most by anyone who retired without a Grand Slam homer. So we have 703 and 192, and Willie Abreu did it both in the same game.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
Right, pretty cool. Justin Foscue of the Rangers broke an 0 for 44 stretch. It's stretched 2 years Tuesday night. 0 for 44, Jeff. Position player, the last position player to have anything that long was Chris Davis in 2018-19. I remember this distinctly. He was 0 for 54. Again, Jeb, we just talked about the average fan getting 100 at-bats in a major league. No. Major leaguer, 0 for 44. Major leaguer, 0 for 54. Just not happened. Ronald Acuna Jr., leadoff guy for the Braves, Tuesday night, struck out 4 times. So that's the 21st time. We've been charting this all year. 21st time that a leadoff guy has struck out 4 times in a game. That's the most ever before July 4th. In baseball history, which stands to reason because the strikeout rate, which we've been talking about a lot during this podcast, is what it is. It's at a historically high level as it has been every year for at least the last 15 years.
Do I have this right that Elly De La Cruz just passed Tony Gwynn's all-time strikeouts?
I did not know that, but yes, I'm surprised it took this long.
Yeah, and think about the years of service. Elly De La Cruz started his career in 2023, and he currently has, the total is 454 strikeouts. Okay, I'm just confirming this as I type. And Tony Gwynn, obviously a legend, played for almost 20 full seasons, and his strikeouts, 434. So, yep.
Yeah. More people will strike. Several more people will strike out. Well, several people will strike out 200 times this year. Tony Gwynn didn't strike out 200 times in the decade of the 90s. Just think about that for a second.
It's unbelievable.
Right. Okay. A couple last things, Jeff. Steve Sparks, our new best friend, broadcaster for the Astros, and of course, a good major league pitcher in his day, sent me a text in the middle of the night with the attendance, Jeff, last night, but Tuesday night between the Rockies and the Astros. The attendance was 30,303. What does that mean to you, Jeff? 30,303.
It's a palindrome.
Palindrome. That's the second time this year, Steve pointed out, that the Astros have had a palindromic attendance. And he keeps track of these things. And he asked, can I be a Seamhead? What are you, crazy? You're a bigger Seamhead than I am. And he pitched in the big leagues and was really good. Palindromic attendance levels.
These are the things that bring us joy. Very unfortunately.
Right. So also Tuesday night, Mason Montgomery got the loss in the Rays-A's game, and Mason Miller got the save. Mason used to be, no one was ever had a first name Mason until a few years ago in the big leagues. And so this was the first time that there's ever been any combination in win, loss, save that 2 guys who got a win, loss, or save were named Mason. So that was the first time we've ever seen that.
2 Masons doing big things in 2025.
Right. And Brendan Little, remember we had Brendan Little in the other day in our pictures of record? Well, this time we had, what did we have for Brendan Little the last time? A little
league.
Yeah.
No.
It was a little leisure.
Little leisure. Right. Little leisure.
Right. Little got the win, and Mark Leiter Jr.'s got the loss. So the pictures of record were a little lighter.
Little lighter. I love that.
That's what I am these days, a little lighter. Not like I needed to be. Okay, those are the Kurkjians for this week.
Well, coming up next, we have On This Date in Baseball History from Ozzy to Oral. Dad, are we knocking down 1 or 2 numbers from Ozzy to Oral today?
We've got 2 today because I'm not sure there's any question and there's no argument on either one. That's my guess.
and then the best of all Tim and a team Tim that's going to make you proud to be an American. It's all coming up next on Is This a Great Game or What? Welcome back to Is This a Great Game or What, Dad? On this date in baseball history, July the 3rd, what do you got?
Well, as you know, I try to get Walter Johnson into every podcast since I went. Did I ever tell you I went to Walter Johnson High School?
Hey, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so on this date in 1913, Walter Johnson pitched a 15-hit shutout. Think about it. A 15-hit shutout. Of course, the game lasted 15 innings. And of course, back then, it was no surprise when Walter Johnson or almost any really good pitcher pitched all 15 innings. But it was the most hits ever allowed in a shutout. Also on this date in 1966, Tony Cloninger hit 2 grand slams in one game, first National League player to hit 2 grand slams in one game, Jeff. And if you may not know this, but Tony Cloninger was a pitcher. So the first National Leaguer to do it was a pitcher. And like a couple of weeks earlier, he had driven in 5 on June the 16th, 1966. He knocked in 5 runs in a game, which was the most RBIs in one game ever by a National League pitcher. And then he drove in 9 runs on July the 3rd, 1966. Now, let's see if you remember, Jeff. I quiz you way too often. Give me 2 guys in Major League history who you add up their grand slams and they equal the number that Tony Cloninger a pitcher hit in one game. 2 guys in Major League history who had a lot of at-bats, and each of them...
Derek Jeter,
way to go.
Only hit 1 in his career, right?
Right. And this guy had more at-bats than anyone in Major League history.
Pete Rose.
Pete Rose. So he and Derek Jeter had 25,248 at-bats, official at-bats, not plate appearances, and hit 2 grand slams. Tony Cloninger did hit 2 in one game. And for the 3rd time, he's a pitcher.
All right, Dad. From Ozzy to Oral, are you ready to give us another number?
Yeah, so we're at number 25. Barry Bonds is our number 25. I'm not sure there's a debate here. Now, let's keep in mind he wore number 24 for the Pirates, won a couple MVPs wearing number 24. But when he got to the Giants, he couldn't wear number 24, Jeff, because...
Willie Mays.
Right. Way to go, Jeff. If you had missed that one...
Which they're related, right? It's his godfather. Are they related?
Yes. Yeah. Willie Mays is Barry Bonds' godfather. Thank you for getting that right. But when Barry Bonds went to the Giants, his dad, Bobby Bonds, one of the great players that I grew up watching, wore number 25. So he wore Bobby Bonds' number, and he won 5 MVPs wearing number 25. He hit 586 homers as a Giant. And sorry, Jeff, I know we're not allowed to talk about this given Barry Bonds' history, but for me, the 3 greatest hitters of all time are in order: Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, Barry Bonds. That's it. That's the list. Sorry.
In that order, too. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. And again, a lot of people will argue with that, and I understand. You can have any list you like, but that's my list. So long story, but I'll make it quick. AJ Przinsky, I once asked him, what's the greatest thing you've ever seen in baseball? And he laughed at me. He said, I played 1 year with Barry Bonds. I've never seen anything like it. So I'll be close on this, but he said that Barry walked into the clubhouse before the first game of the season in Houston. And he announced to the whole team, hey, in this 3-game series, I'm going to get a whole bunch of hits. I'm going to be on base, but I'm not going to hit any homers because I want to make sure I hit my first homer of the year when we return home, because Willie Mays is going to be there, and I want to tie his home run total, 660, while he's in the stands. So for 3 games in Houston, yes, Barry Bonds had a tremendous 3 games. I forget the numbers. It's not important. He was on base. He drove in runs. He walked, everything else. He gets home. First game, he announces to his team because they're home, I'm going to hit a homer today because Willie's here. So he hit a home run. Next day, Willie is there, and he says, I'm going to hit another homer today because I'm going to pass Willie. I want to pass Willie, my godfather, while he's in the stands. And the next day, he hit number 661. That's the story that A.J. Przinsky told me, that Willie was hitting home runs on command.
That's
Game's
unbelievable.
way too hard for that, Jeff.
I know. When you think about how great these hitters are, to have that control, it's just unbelievable.
Right.
All right,
okay.
Dad. Number 26 from Ozzy to Oral. Who's the best player to wear that number?
It's Wade Boggs. He also wore 12 when he went to the Yankees, but in his career with the Red Sox, he wore number 26. Remember, Wade Boggs, lifetime 328 hitter. He won 5 batting titles, 4 of them in a row. He got 200 hits 7 years in a row, and his career on base percentage is .415, which is top 20 of all time. And I'll never forget, Wade Boggs told me at the Hall of Fame one year, he was telling me that his 8th, I can't prove this, Jeff, but his 8th year in the league, he hit a towering foul fly ball like down the right field line, deep into the crowd. And he looked at the umpire, and the umpire looked back at him. He said, "What?" And Wade Boggs says, "I've never done that before." As you know, Wade Boggs hit a lot of balls on the ground. He rarely put a ball in the air because, he fouled out to an infielder like 3 times in one season. And that's a real statistic. But he never pulled it, and he never hit it in the air. So when he hits this deep fly foul ball deep into the stands down the right field line, he claims he had never done that before. And as crazy as his career was, I believe it. And Jeff, here's how good he was in his prime. I wrote a story about him for the Dallas Morning News or for Sports Illustrated. I don't know who I was with, not important. And Rich Donnelly, my dear friend, told me, he said, we've decided the best way to play Wade Boggs to try to stop him from spraying the ball all over the field. We're going to take the 8 fielders behind the pitcher, and we're just going to line them up in center field. And as soon as the ball is pitched, they're just going to scatter in every direction. And maybe someone will get in front of a ball and catch it. That's how hard it was to defend Wade Boggs.
And I don't know what's more impressive, Dad. 73 home runs for Barry Bonds in one season, or 73 beers on a cross-country flight for Wade Boggs. Same number. I don't know which one's more impressive.
Jeff, the year that I went into Cooperstown with the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Back up. You do not need to apologize, Dad. You have spent years working hard.
Just stop it. That's
I
not
know
the point.
You hate it.
Not the point of this.
Okay, please continue.
All right, the night of the speech that I made, so all the pressure is off, I walked downstairs into the restaurant bar at the Otesaga Hotel, and who is doing like karaoke down there? You and who else?
Wade Boggs.
Right. Here it is. Here's a guy I grew up covering, watching, just dazzled by his ability. And I go in there, and you're singing a song with Wade Boggs. Do you remember any of the songs you were singing?
Oh, yeah. We did Piano Man by Billy Joel.
Really?
Yeah.
Could Wade Boggs sing? I mean... Yeah,
but he sang, every line for him was, "And the microphone smells like a beer." No, Jeff, he has been nothing but gracious and nice in the times I've had an opportunity to meet him, and he loves to have a good time.
Jeff, that's a claim to fame. You sang karaoke with one of the great third basemen of all time and the greatest number 26 ever. I love that.
I'll take that to the bank. All right, Dad, best of all, Tim. What team are we doing this week?
Well, we're going to do the Texas Rangers because this weekend I'm doing the Rangers and the Padres. So the greatest Texas Ranger of all time for me is Pudge Rodriguez. He won the MVP as a Ranger in 1999. He won 13 Gold Gloves in his career, one of the great defensive catchers ever. 10 of them were with the Rangers, 13 years there, career average of .304 and an .828 OPS. And get this, Jeff, I'll never forget this. He made his major league debut on June the 20th, 1991. He was 19 years old, and he got married that morning and made his major league debut. This was at Comiskey Park in Chicago, that night, and he got a hit, drove in 2 runs, and threw out 2 guys trying to steal, because there were very, very, very few catchers in Major League history that were quicker behind the plate and threw better than Pudge Rodriguez. So, Jeff, I mean, let's see, he threw out 2 runners. On your wedding day, you threw down 20 beers. Is that fair to say?
It's actually funny, and my wife will kill me for telling this story, but we were engaged for like 18 months. We had a long engagement. We planned a wedding for 18 months out after our engagement. And she might have told me, Dad, once a month, Jeff, just do me a favor. Don't drink too much our wedding night. I don't want you to be going too crazy, right? And we'd be out. And she'd be like, better not drink that much at our, okay. And who was the one who ended up having just that extra drink that they might not have probably needed? Was my wife, Emily. Here I am, stone cold sober at my own wedding because I was busy talking to people and dancing. I wasn't even thinking about where my drink is because I was talking to people. And then all of a sudden I see my wife and she goes, yeah, that was a fun night. And I'm like, yep, you were the one, not me.
Right. Well, Jeff.
So I didn't put down 20 beers, thankfully.
Thankfully, you weren't there at our wedding in 1983, but at the reception at the hotel, a couple of pros, more than a couple pros, somehow got into the reception. When I say pros, Jeff, hookers came into the reception because there were so many people there. They figured we could get in, have a few drinks. I don't know. It was not good.
And your father-in-law, my grandfather, had to escort them out, right?
Right. He chucked them out, which was a little disappointing because the one that I was dancing with was really, really nice.
Dad, come on.
All right. Now that's the biggest, stupidest joke ever. Yes, Daddy Pat made sure we got rid of the hookers at our reception in 1983.
All right, Dad. Team Tim right now for you. Tomorrow's the 4th of July. I'm guessing you have a team about that, right?
I do, Jeff, and I've told you before about the reaches that we've had, the stretches that we've had. This, I'm sure, is the biggest reach ever, the whole team, okay?
I'm excited.
I had to try. I really tried hard on this, and I really failed, but I'm going to do the best I can. The all July 4th team, which is also Independence Day, so there's 2 words for it. So our first baseman is Freddie Freeman.
Yep, free man. I like that.
Jackson Holiday is our second baseman.
Nice.
Red Rolfe is our third baseman. There'll be a theme here to a guy named Red. Okay, we've got that. The shortstop is Pat Rocket, played for the Braves
Rockets,
long time
Red
ago.
Glare. Yeah.
Right. Devon White. So now we have red and white. United States. We're getting closer, right? Curtis Pride is one of our outfiders.
Yeah.
Ed Freed is one of our outfielders.
Freed from the British. Sure, right. I'm here for it.
Right. Vida Blue is one pitcher.
There it is.
Red, white, and blue.
Didn't see it coming.
Right. Steve Sparks, who we mentioned earlier in the podcast. Right. And my final 3 pitchers are Jeff Francis, Mike Scott, and Jimmy Key.
I love that.
Say it out loud.
Francis Scott Key, baby.
Okay, now.
He wrote the Star Spangled Banner, and I used to be an intern for the Frederick Keys, named after Francis Scott Key.
There you go, Jeff. And the last one, and we're really going to test you on this one, and this is the biggest reach in the history of all of these dumb Team Tims that I've done. The catcher is Blake Sabol. Let's see if you remember. I've mentioned him multiple times. Blake Sabol. How much
baseball? Okay.
Yes. So Blake Sabol is our catcher because he has the word baseball in his name. So
and
that's why he's
is America's
the catcher.
pastime.
Well, yes, July 4th is a big baseball holiday. Correct?
Okay. I believe it. I'm all for it.
So
all right, Dad.
Baseball, okay.
Baseball.
He's our catcher.
Okay.
I couldn't find another catcher. I had to go with Blake Sabol.
I love it, Dad. Great job. Happy 4th of July to everybody out there. And now we wrap up with I am a Seamhead, Dad. Now, I was reached out to by our Seamhead, Chris Donnelly, okay? So he is a New Jersey author, Dad. He wrote a book called Get Your Tokens Ready, and it's all about the Mets-Yankees from 1997, the start of Interleague, to the last out of the 2000 World Series, the Subway Series, right? So you can get the book wherever. It's called Get Your Tokens Ready. You can get it on Amazon, right? And while it's the 25th anniversary, obviously, of the Subway Series this year, would be really neat to have a Subway Series on the 25th anniversary of it. But he has explained to us what makes him such a big Seamhead.
Hey guys, I think I am a Seamhead because I have memorized more useless information about the 1990s New York Yankees than any human being should be allowed. I can tell you the opening day starters for each year of that decade were Dave LaPointe, Tim Leary, Scott Sanderson, Jimmy Key, David Cohn, Andy Pettit, Roger Clemens. That the first Yankees to hit home runs in each year of that decade were Mel Hall, Kevin Moss, Mel Hall, Danny Tartable, Derek Jeter, Tino Martinez, Jorge Posada, and Chili Davis. For some reason, I can tell you that in 1991, Don Mattingly hit 9 home runs against 8 different teams. In order, the Tigers, the A's, the Orioles, the Blue Jays, the Rangers, the Twins, the Tigers, the Red Sox, and lastly, the Indians, and that he was benched on August 15th, 1991 for not cutting his hair. My name is Chris Donnelly, and I am a Seamhead.
It's pretty impressive that he wrote a book about that era, but I don't think most people could remember who got the first hit of the season on their favorite team for that long of a period.
This is why there are Seamheads out there in baseball, and maybe there are Seamheads out there in football. They can't be called Seamheads. Only in baseball can you be called a Seamhead, and I'm sure they're similar in basketball, but there are more guys like Chris Donnelly than in other sports. I'm right about that. His recall and the research he did is pretty darn impressive. And that's why we love Seamheads, and that's when we love when they contribute to the show.
We've got a couple lined up, but if you want to be a part of the lineup of Seamheads, you can email me, jeff@greatgamerwhat.com. Send me a voice memo, just like Chris did. End it with, I'm Jeff Kurkjian, and I am a Seamhead, and we'd love to play it on the air for you. Dad, I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July. I know you're traveling, and I want to make sure everybody remembers to watch you, Dad, Sunday night, July 6th. It'll be the Padres hosting the Rangers. You're going to be doing Sunday Night Baseball. Who's on the crew with you, Dad?
Roxy Bernstein, we've got Jessica Mendoza, and we've got Alden Gonzalez. It's going to be great. Love those. Love that team. We should have a tremendous time. Love Petco Park. It's so alive when the Padres, they love their team there. They got to start playing a little better here. And of course, I'm going to see Mary Shavoti and my cousin while I'm in San Diego. She loves the Padres, and she's going to the game on Sunday night.
It's going to be special, Dad. We'll all be watching, and thank you for listening. And as always, thank you for being a part of our family.